if you want to learn how to write, then you have to learn how to listen. And so it's not only reading about things.
Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back to the Hangin' with Web Show. I'm GW Pomichter. Thank you so much for logging on, tuning in, Googling, clicking, whatever the things they have to do to get to here. Tweeting. Yeah, did you Twitter here?
Did you Instagram
is that a thing?
Today?
Did you did you do to the Instagram machine? I don't know.
Knock on your neighbor's door and tell them.
Tell them I pooped.
Right.
Because it's the internet, they care.
It's their business.
I don't know.
Everyone's business.
Anyway, guys, we are at Comic-Con Revolution. The revolution is in full swing down in West Palm Beach, Florida, and we're here hanging right now with Jimmy Palmiotti, a comic writer from PaperFilms. He's a writer, really. Writes comics, writes for TV, for film. Actually, he'll write his name down for you. Whatever. If you want to go by the booth and see him.
I write letters if you want to.
You write letters?
Sick, I'll write a letter for your teacher.
So you
don't have to go into school.
I like that. Yeah. I like that, man. So, all right, Jimmy. So, how long have you been writing, man?
It's been probably around 22 years, maybe.
Yeah.
But I started out in advertising, and I didn't start comics till I was like 30. And for the first 10 years of my comic work, I actually did art. I focused only on the art.
Awesome.
And then I started doing creator-owned books, and eventually, this is way back when Marvel Comics was in Chapter 11, and they hired my buddy Joe Quesada and I, and we took a line of books and called it Marvel Nights and got the company going again, and then they sold to Disney for $4 billion. And then I moved on.
You're still waiting for that call, right? Your check is here, or just pick it up?
I got the check. It was not very impressive. Not very impressive. But anyway.
His cut of the $4 billion wasn't what you might have thought.
No, there were zeros on it, but there was no number in front of it. It was just a row of zeros. In computer language, though, it's meaningless as well. But, but after that, I started writing more. And so I've written everything from video games to TV show. Had a Painkiller Jane on Sci-Fi Network, Dead Space. I wrote the animated movie.
Awesome, man.
Whole bunch of crazy things. And also, like 5 years ago, my wife and I revised Harley Quinn. So that's the Harley Quinn you see now. Is the book that it was a character in the animated series. And then my wife and I got the book to write and draw, and she decided that Harley Quinn should never wear the same costume all the time, and it's always changing. And then we put her in Brooklyn. We made her go say "screw you" to the Joker and stand up being who she is, and that's pretty much where it is now. So we did good with Harley.
Absolutely.
And we're on to other things.
Well, you know what's great is you talked about taking before the show we were talking about world building.
Yes.
And that's a character is a microcosm of that, building a character.
Yes.
And that's what you guys did for Harley.
Well, so Harley is a character in the Batman universe, right? Because she worked for Joker. Mm-hmm. And when DC gave us Harley to do as a series in her own book, the first thing I said is, like, we can't have her in Gotham because she'll always be Batman's character, like in the Batman universe. Yeah. So we moved Harley to Coney Island in Brooklyn, right? Which on some level. We moved her there, and eventually, the boyfriend thing with Joker, she said, "Screw you, you can't abuse me anymore, I'm stepping out." And we created a whole separate set of supporting characters. And we never thought the book was going to be that big, and it blew up, like insanely blew up. And so now they're making another movie with Margot Robbie, who we met, very nice, wonderful woman. And
well, that character has become something of really a heroine for young ladies. Even as a bad guy, she's sort of the anti-heroine.
She's a conflicted person, right? So she's
because you guys fleshed her out. She's more three-dimensional.
Yeah.
And as created, she was a great comic book bad guy sidekick.
Yeah, visually she was great, and the animation she was great.
And then you move forward into a more fleshed out world, and you need a character that is flawed and broken
and relatable.
Right. And somebody that's not all bad, not all good, and. But you see, when you look around the cosplayers the last couple of years, for you it's got to be amazing. You look around and there's Harleys everywhere you go.
We did a show in San Diego, and it was like they asked every Harley cosplayer to come to this one thing to take a photo, and it was like 500 of them.
Wow.
with me and Amanda, and that was pretty cool.
That
it was pretty
is
spectacular.
Really awesome.
And again, my wife was like, no woman wears the same outfit twice. Why is Harley Quinn wearing the same exact suit every time? So every cover she got, she drew Harley in a different outfit, and soon that became normal. And if you look at the new movie, The Birds of Prey, that's shooting now, Harley's in a different outfit every scene.
Yes.
And my wife's like, see, that's what a woman does. Not that one
uniform.
uniform.
Well, and even the guys had to kind of admit it a little bit. If you look at some of the different variations on Joker lately, you'll see that, you know, this very 2D, very colorful Joker. He's getting more color. It's different outfit each time, maybe a different vest,
usually purple
different tie.
and green on some level.
Yeah. But it's changing up because our wives don't let us get up in the morning and just wear the same thing.
No, and I also think, you know, so when a character becomes iconic, you can mess with their look because we know Batman's Batman. So even if you change some stuff, we know it's Batman. But if it's a new character nobody knows, then you
got to lock them in. You got to basically brand them right into what they are.
Yep.
So in writing the stories, you know, Harley Quinn's got like you said, a deep backstory now. She went from being the abused doctor to being the abused girlfriend, to cutting out on her own.
Yes.
What was your favorite moment that you created for Harley in that journey?
Well, I think you know, there was a lot of favorite moments because we had fun with her supporting cast. We created the first senior citizen superhero with Cyborgman, and he's a retired Jewish guy from Brooklyn in a wheelchair, superpowered wheelchair. It's ridiculous, but that's the fun of it, right?
It is,
because it's like if it's not fun, then why are you doing it?
Yeah.
But when we had Harley finally confront the Joker was a big moment, and we knew it was. Actually, we went, and thank God we had a great editor because we wrote the scene, and then we looked at it from every perspective because we understood that as much as it's a comic book character, this is also somebody who's abused dealing with their abuser, right? So there's a responsibility in this scene of being true to what somebody would say and act. We can't just go all superhero and have her stab him and all. It has to, her words have to have meaning. The idea that I'm done with the way you're treating me, and if you you don't respect me, you can't treat me this way anymore. And little did we know how much it resonated with a lot of people that have that happening in their life. And for the first year, we get people coming up to us crying, saying, I had this relationship, and I saw that scene, and I got inspired. So something like that.
I was going to say, you get that rare person that says, Harley did it, I can do it.
Yes, and
that's
we kind of
awesome
knew when we were writing it. It's
a
responsibility. And we kind of knew when we were writing it, there's a way to do this where it makes sense for the character, but also for the reader to understand that nobody has to take this kind of being treated this way, and there's a responsibility to actually confront somebody that does this to you, but it's not an easy thing. In real life, people don't like to confront a waiter who they don't have service. They're afraid to confront the waiter and go, you know, hey, this is cold. They're like, no, I'll just eat it cold. Like, so we're dealing with levels of confidence.
Yeah.
And, you know, people, you know, they have boundaries are broken. People break boundaries. There's all these, it's a very heavy thing. So writing what seems like a light entertainment, but doing a moment like that where it resonates is like a lot of responsibility in there.
And I think that's one of the things, and you've been writing in this community for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that these fans, that these people enjoy, is the fact that something that's lighthearted and fun as comic books or graphic novels or film today, on television, is you can have a lot of fun, you can have a good time, but you don't have to betray the human condition to do it.
Absolutely.
You can actually be true to the way people are, because we're funny.
Oh yeah,
and we're
happy, and we're capable of a lot of good.
Yes.
You know, it's funny because not all information. Well, I'll say even this for the comic people, they're very smart people. They read, they do things. But we also get information. We process information in different ways, and it's like. So I always say, people go, how can I be a better writer? And I always say, fall in love, get your heart broken, travel the world, right? Because if you stay in your house, you're not going to experience other people, other cultures. So how can you write about something like that? But again, as we get broad-minded, we start to see these common threads, right? And no matter where in the world you meet people, there's always a mom that wants their kids to do well, and it's the father that's trying to help. It doesn't matter what culture you're in. So these little core things are so important when writing, because you realize that you have an audience of a million different backgrounds, but you find the thing that no matter what they read, they relate to.
We tell our creative artists out there that are learning, we tell them, save the facts for the journalists.
Yes.
A writer's job is to find truth. And truth is what connects us all.
Yeah, and the facts are in there.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
in there, you know.
Yeah, but those things we can make up. We can put them in these fantastical worlds or whatever. But if you're not true, to a person, then that person isn't true.
And it feels wrong.
Yeah,
and it feels wrong.
So what are you working on right now, man?
So I just finished working on the Painkiller Jane screenplay.
Feature?
It's a feature film.
Oh wow,
yeah, it's
fantastic.
a feature film, and oh, what do I have in front of me? I'm trying to think because I got a lot of stuff. I'm just finishing up a Wonder Woman 12-part story we did for the Walmart books, like it's a separate line of books for Walmart. Wonder Woman, and then I have there's a lot of things, and it's so funny because I'm trying to figure out what I can't talk about. I have a Marvel. I have a Marvel project I can't talk about, but I'm working. But mostly right now is the features.
Isn't that the way that works?
Yeah.
There are a handful of companies, Marvel, Disney, all these companies. You can work for them, but it's like going to work for the CIA. And
well, I don't want to be the guy. I don't want to be the guy that gets the call.
And actually, I'll be honest. Yeah. I think I would rather have guys at the CIA angry with me than have the Mickey Mouse mad at me.
You know, when you do these things, they tell you there's a time when you can talk about them. But I have been working, so I've been doing a lot less comics. I've been doing a lot more screenwriting. I did an adaptation with a buddy of mine, Craig Whedon, of a book that Garth Ennis and I wrote called Back to Brooklyn. It's like a gangster type thing.
Wow.
And that's a fully done screenplay, and that's going out to casting right now. So we have a director that's going out to casting. And I just got hired to do a kid's film. So a screenplay. That's something completely different for me, but not really, because the guys that hire me understand that I understand the sensibility. You know, telling stories at the age, sure, it's a key and a little research, but in the end, it's the same stuff you want to, you know.
People are people. Small ones, big ones, right? Okay. She wants us to wrap it up. Okay. I had one more question, though. So now, writing for all of these different mediums. Yeah. Okay. And you've been doing that for a long time, back and forth, but now you said you're leaning more towards screenplays?
More towards
As you
film.
change mediums, are you having, is that a difficult transition to make for you? Any advice for those would-be, the writers out there that said, look, I want to try, I'm a novelist, but I want to try for a screenplay, or the other way around?
So the changes are formatting mostly, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're dealing with, comic is 22 pages, you have to tell a story. A screenplay could, at the very least, 90, or 100 pages. And it's formatting, and it's in a comic book you direct. You're telling the artist what to draw and everything in the panel. In a screenplay, you don't do that because the director wants the option. You don't want to tell them what camera angle. You don't tell them any of that.
Okay.
That's up to them. So you have to. There's a lot of push and pull. If you're writing a video game, it's a whole different format. So it's all format differences, right? And then being able to tell a story within a time frame. So it's not that different. The only thing that's different is the perception of the people hiring you, because I wrote comics for so long, some of the film people go, you're a comic guy, right? Okay. And sometimes it's an advantage, because they're like, oh, well, you know how to tell a story, you're a comic guy. Or sometimes like, you write comics, let the big boys handle the film. So I get that too, right?
Okay.
So you can either let that get to you, or you can just keep pushing through, and that's what I did. I just keep pushing. And eventually now, the people who hire me for film understand I can do film, but they also know I love comics. And let's be honest, they're both storytelling mediums, so they should have a better sense of that.
The human being has been telling a story since we could sit around a campfire and imagine what was out beyond the firelight.
Right, right.
And good storytellers can tell you a story on a campfire.
Right.
They can write it down, they can draw it in a comic book, or they can put it on a screen.
Yep.
And bad storytellers can't do any of them.
No, they can't because they don't see past what they're doing.
Exactly.
Also, I mean, I always say suggestion for writers. If you want to learn how to write, then you have to learn how to listen. And so it's not only reading about things and experiencing, you have to listen to other people. In Brooklyn, we used to have a bar called Floods, and it was all these old men would sit in the bar, and they would tell stories for hours. That's what they did all day. And there was nothing better than sitting at the end of the bar and listening to them tell stories. They were great stories. And you just mine them. You change some names, and like I just stole the story from, you know, One-Legged Tommy over there gave me the best film ever, you know, and it's like,
awesome.
But you have to learn to listen because people have stories. They have their story, and you know they say, you know, you can never make that up. Yeah, you know, you run into that kind of story with it, like that's so crazy. There's no way you can ever imagine that, and those are things that stay in your head, you know. And we all have a story from somebody else told us that is like so over the top. But it really happened, right? And it's a really great place to work from, I think.
That's amazing. That is, and it's a good tip. Listen, pay attention to what's around you. The stories that are unfolding right outside your windows.
Right in front of you,
right in front of you are the most amazing ones. That means I've got to wrap it up, so I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to say thank you to our partners and our friends over at the Foxwood Wine Company, radio.com from CBS Radio, Krypton Radio, Celestial Healings, J. Bauer Art, Space Coast Comics, Famous Faces and Funnies, and Something Unique Magazine. These are the folks that share our videos all over the World Wide Web. We hope you will too. Remember, subscribe, log on, tune in, and see who we're hanging with next.